At 11 o'clock, MELTDOWN called another press conference. By now, the press corps was growing openly distrustful.
The release that was made yesterday was within the limits that were acceptable, and was. I don't know why we need to tell you each and everything that we do.
Well, why not, Jack? You know, we only live here, and you may kill us here before you're all finished.
Mr. Herbine, don't you feel a responsibility to 1 million people living around your planet to keep them informed of every last facet of it?
The press became very demanding. They were asking more and more intelligent questions, and more specific answers were demanded, and each time Herbine tried to back away from it, and finally the reporters got vicious.
I'm here today to try and ease the level of panic and concern, and tell you.
Mr. Herbine, there are other people who are doing the job.
I remember feeling very angry, and I shouted a question to Jack Herbine, something along the lines of, "You started to melt that thing down, didn't you? Didn't you?" And I guess at that moment I was not a journalist anymore. I lived here, and I was mad. I was angry.
Yeah.
Back at the State House, Thornburg finally heard from Hendry.
All right. Hello, this is Dick Thornburg.
As a precaution, the chairman recommended a limited evacuation order.
Based on advice of the chairman of the NRC, I am advising pregnant women and preschool-aged children to leave the area within a 5-mile radius of the 3 Mile Island facility until further notice.
Thornburg's announcement unleashed the panic he had been trying to avoid. Within days, 140,000 people would flee the area.
People left their jobs, came home, packed their cars and their children. And I remember standing on the corner and cars zipping past me and people hollering out the window, "Watch the town." And I said, well, here I am standing here. I'm in as much danger as they are, and they're leaving town and telling me to watch their homes.
Mrs. Snyder, this is the bus we'll use for Hershey.
Things were starting to get a little hectic.
Yeah, we're going to go for a ride.
We left so quickly on Friday that we basically took ourselves. The moment that's so crystal clear in my mind is driving on the highway, trying to imagine what would happen to this area. All of this beautiful countryside would be destroyed, would be so contaminated that nobody could be there for hundreds of years. I looked as hard as I could at everything and tried to burn it into my mind what everything looked like, because I wasn't going to see it again.
My father wouldn't leave. Dad was thinking of his neighborhood, and he was going to stand guard. When I said goodbye to my father, we were both very careful not to say things more than we were to say things. I think we said goodbye, see you soon, to one another. Askamraden Snaden, which means stay in touch. I'll let you know. It was probably a few of the most horrible moments of my life. I had to drive away. It was horrible.
At the White House, President Carter was becoming alarmed. For an hour, he'd been trying to call Governor Thornburg, but the phone lines were clogged.
We had an open line. What happened to our open line? How about reestablishing that? It was on 3. Okay? And there, over there, sits our hotline unassembled.
When Carter finally reached the governor, he heard an outpouring of frustration. Thornburg felt let down by both MELTDOWN and the NRC. he asked the president for someone he could trust. Within hours, Harold Denton arrived in Harrisburg as the president's envoy.
So I agreed to go, but I saw it at that time as I was a fireman, and I was rushing to the scene of a fire.
We were in the governor's darkly paneled office, and we were all sitting there 3 days, and we'd been through everything, and we didn't know what to expect. And we got a call saying Harold Denton is outside in the reception area, and the governor turned to me and said, "Bill, go and bring him in." And I walked down, I opened the door, and he stepped in, and he said, "Hi, I'm Harold Denton." And I said, "Hi, I'm Bill Scranton." But the minute he said, "Hi, I'm Harold Denton," you know, sometimes you have this feeling about people, it just was, this is the right guy.
I'm Harold Denton.
Harold, Dick Thornburg, how are you?
My first look at Harold Denton was on a television set, and he's kind of this slow talking, my recollection is southern sounding kind of guy who will automatically put you at ease and makes you feel more comfortable and safe, and that's kind of how it felt. Well, finally somebody's here that we can trust.
We've assured ourselves that there is no imminent danger to the public.
That's Harold Denton.
As a result of the way the Corps is being cooled, there are a number of safety
As Denton
systems
calmed
that can
fears
be
in
activated
Harrisburg,
if necessary.
tensions were growing back at NRC headquarters. Roger Mattson, one of the NRC's most experienced engineers, had been analyzing a stream of data from the control room. He was horrified to discover the presence of a hydrogen gas bubble above the core. The bubble could prevent cooling and eventually lead to a meltdown. Mattson's report to Commissioner Hendry was blunt.
Well, what I told them was that we had a reactor that was in a condition that no one had anticipated, that the core was severely damaged. I think I called it a horse race.
How the hell do we get the bubble out of there? Do we win the horse race or lose the horse race? I don't know what we're protecting at this point. I think we ought to be moving people.
And at that point, I put my 2 cents worth in on the evacuation. I asked him why he was not making a recommendation to move people, that we thought that there should be some form of close-in evacuation.
Fearing another false alarm, Hendry stalled. For the first time, the press began to use the word meltdown.
The world has never known a day quite like today. It faced the considerable uncertainties and dangers of the worst nuclear power plant accident of the atomic age. And the horror tonight is that it could get much worse. The potential is there for the ultimate risk of a meltdown at the 3 Mile Island.
That evening before sundown, I went out and I'm looking in the sky. And I know this is kind of dumb, but I just remember the sky with the strangest colors of purples and oranges and deep blues, and it was just a really weird sky. It almost reflected the emotional turmoil that we were feeling over what was going on at 3 Mile Island. So that's what comes to mind when I think of Friday, or Black Friday as I call it.
Saturday morning, Chairman Hendry was at the point of exhaustion. The ominous prospect of a meltdown was frightening enough, but now he had a new worry, that the hydrogen bubble would mix with oxygen and create a devastating explosion. Hendry told Roger Mattson to get the answers from the best nuclear physicists in the country.